I'm Krys and welcome to the Krys Glam channel where I teach you makeup tips, I share product reviews, and pretty much everything beauty. If that's your kind of vibe, then make sure to subscribe down below and ring that notification bell so you never miss an upload and you can become part of the Krys Glam fam. Alright, so as you can see, I am not wearing any eyeshadow right now because today is all about blending eyeshadows for beginners. So if that's something that you want to learn or you need help with, then stay and chill. Grab yourself some munchies, grab yourself a drink, and we're gonna go ahead and jump right into it. All right, Besos, so welcome to Blending 101. So I'm gonna basically go over a few steps with you guys, and I'm gonna do a basic eyeshadow look, and we're gonna be using the Chocolates by Juvia's Place today, which has really nice nudes and rich browns, and I think that this is a perfect palette for us to teach you guys an easy technique on how to blend eyeshadows. So first things first, let me go ahead and move you guys a little bit closer so that way you get a better look at the blending. The first thing that you want to start with is going to be an eye primer. You can prime your eyelids with any concealer or you can go on with an eye primer. So I love the P. Louise base. This is awesome, but a nice drugstore option which I love is going to be the e.l.f. eye putty primer, and this one is in the shade Sand. Now it is a putty, but it's not like a super creamy consistency like the P. Louise. The P. Louise is a little bit more creamier and it's kind of more of like a concealer consistency. This one is a little bit more dry. So I just went ahead and grabbed this fluffy brush and kind of swirled it in there. And then what we want to do is that you want to go ahead and place that all over the lid. Now with this particular putty primer, I wouldn't suggest smudging it on the lid like you would a primer. With this particular formula, I find it easier to just kind of do packing motions on the lid. And you do want to make sure to cover the entire eyelid and then take it all the way up to the brow bone. That way the color payoff on the eyeshadow palette and the consistency of the colors will stay the same. And grab some more, jump onto the other eye. Now the reason why I suggest going with a primer that has a color base to it is because, and just setting your eyelid with a primer period, is because number one, it's gonna last longer. Number two, it's gonna help you a lot more with the blending for it to be a lot more seamless for you. And number three, the color payoff when you place eyeshadow on a base versus just putting it straight on your eyelid is so different. It's like a game changer. Trust me. If you've never used a eye primer, try it. And I promise you that you're gonna love it. And then also, if you wanna do like other colors like pinks or purples or like yellows, colors that are a little bit harder for them to appear, or if you're having a hard time with them appearing on your skin, you can always go with a lighter putty primer. This one is a white shade, and I like to use this one when I'm using more vibrant colors because the color payoff when you use a white primer, game changer. Like, I'm telling you, you have to try it. I promise you, you're gonna love it. All right, so the lids are primed, and now we can move on to the second step. All right, now for this second step, it's not necessary, but I highly recommend it if you're a beginner and if you're not very comfortable with creating certain eye shapes with your eyeshadow. Grab yourself these e.l.f. line and eye define tapes and you're gonna be obsessed. So basically what I do is I grab a strip and I cut it in half because it's super long. You don't need it to be that long. And then I just cut it in half and I just place it here on my eye. And you can place it however you want based on the shape that you're trying to go for. So now that that's on there, the next thing that I would highly suggest is investing in some good brushes. Now, the brushes that I'm going to be using today are going to be the Morphe brushes by the Jaclyn Hill collection. You don't have to spend a lot of money on brushes, guys. I would recommend, if you're a beginner, try some e.l.f. brushes or even some Real Technique brushes. Those brushes are bomb and they're just as good as these are. Super affordable. Quality is just as good. All right, so like I said before, we're gonna be using the Chocolates palette by Juvia's Place. And one of the things that I would definitely recommend, at least when you're first starting out and trying to learn how to blend your eyeshadows, I would definitely recommend starting from lightest to darkest. So working your way up from lightest to darkest when you're doing colors. So the first thing I'm gonna do is I'm gonna start off with the transition shade. I'm sure you guys all have heard that. So basically the transition shade is a shade that you want to place right here in your crease area, and the purpose of that shade is to help all the other colors that you place on your eyelid blend a little bit better or easier. So I'm gonna go ahead and grab this shade right here in the middle, and that's gonna be the transition shade. And I'm just gonna start placing that right in that crease area, going back and forth, and then buffing the edges with circular motions. Now, when it comes to blending and colors, you want to just take your time. Don't rush. Make sure you're taking your time and you're slowly building up on those colors. And once there's barely any product left on there, you can go ahead and just move upwards towards the brow bone. You see how this eye has a little bit of definition as opposed to this one? It's like we're adding a little bit of a contour there. I do want that color to look a little bit deeper for my transition. So what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna keep going in and building up on that color. Now we're gonna go ahead and do the same thing in the other eye. Now, whenever you're starting with the transition shade, make sure you always tap the excess product off of the brush before you go in, because this first shade is very important to build it up slowly. If you're like me and you have hooded eyes, I find it easier to just raise up my eyebrow just so that I can make sure that I get all of that skin and I'm not running into any surprises later on. So now I'm gonna go in with this brown shade right here, which is kind of like a reddish brownish color. And with that same brush, and this is actually this is the Morphe by Jaclyn Hill JH32. This same exact brush that we use for the transition color, I'm gonna go in and use it a little bit below the crease, so more in this area. And we're gonna start darkening up that lid space. This time I'm gonna start by placing it here in the outer corner. So the majority of the product, I'm gonna leave it here in the outer corner, and then I'm gonna just start buffing that inwards. Now, notice where I'm holding the brush. I'm not holding it like this, and not holding it all the way at the end either. I'm holding it kind of like 3/4 of the way from the top to give myself the perfect control. And then in this part, I'm not really going deep in there like I was with the transition color. For this part, it's gonna be more of like a light feathered motion. So like you're touching the skin, but like barely touching it. Now for this color, because it's a little bit darker, we don't wanna take it all the way to the inner corner, because I wanna make sure that for this look, we keep the inner corners looking a little bit lighter. Okay, you can see the difference. Now we're gonna go ahead and do the same thing in the other side. Now I do wanna show you guys how I'm tapping into the color. I'm basically taking my brush and I'm just lightly swirling it all the way around and then tapping off the excess. And again, we're gonna start stamping it on the outer corner until the majority of the product is placed there, and then we'll start buffing it inwards. I definitely recommend doing both eyes at the same time, because that way you can go back and forth and make sure that everything looks as even as possible. Obviously, it's not going to be perfect, but if you can get it as evenly as possible, this is honestly going to be the best way by doing them at the same time. Because if you do one full eye and then you go in and do the other eye, then it's most likely not going to look as identical as if you would do it this way. All right, now we're gonna still keep that same brush, and now we're gonna go into this darker shade that looks almost like a chocolate brown. Now with this shade, we're gonna do the same thing. We're gonna start by stamping it in the outer corner, but this time we're gonna go a little bit further in to the eyelid. And this color, we're just gonna focus on packing it on that outer edge and halfway to the lid. This color, you do not wanna try to blend it out, because what we wanna do is that we're gonna take the lighter shade that was on there before and we're gonna blow that brown out with that shade. That way it looks more of like an ombre effect. Do the same thing over here. All right, I feel like this side is a little bit darker than this side, so I'm just gonna go back over here, kind of darken this up a little bit more. And I'm gonna go in with this JH33 blending brush. It's like a smaller blending brush. I'm gonna go back into this transition shade that we first used, and that's the color that I'm gonna use to blend this out. I'm gonna pick up a little bit more of that reddish brown color, and we're gonna go ahead and add it right in front, going back into that crease. And then I'm gonna feather it out into the darker color. And you can drag it this color down. Do the same thing over here. All right, so now I'm gonna go in with this clean JH30 fluffy blending brush. And with this clean brush, I'm just gonna go over everything and go over everything up top here, back and forth, and make sure that everything looks blended. So this brush is very important that it stays clean since it's blending everything out. So I like to keep one of these close by. And this is just a shadow switching pan. This one is actually from Ulta. And basically what you do is that you just basically use this pan to clean off the excess color on the brush. And you can actually use that in between colors. And this way you make sure that your brush stays clean for blending this out. All right, you guys, so that is it. Everything looks very well blended. And now what I want to do for the last step, I'm going to take a combination of these two shimmer shadows and I'm going to put these on the eyelid. Now for shimmer shadows, you want to use a flat brush like this. And this is the JH41. And what I also like to do is I like to wet my brush with some setting spray. I'm going to use the Milani Make It Last setting spray. And I'm basically just going to spray this. And when the bristles are wet, it basically helps to pick up the color pigment on the shimmer shadows. So that way the color payoff is more true to the shimmer. Now I'm gonna take this shade and I'm just gonna start applying it all over the lid here. I'm concentrating it in the areas that we didn't apply color to. And then on top of that, I'm gonna put that bronzy color. And then here I'm gonna go back with the JH32 and just make sure that the edges here are very well blended with the shimmer. And we could do the same thing on the other eye. Now I definitely suggest starting off your blending with your matte shades and just finishing off your look with the shimmer shade like this. Gonna go back in with the clean brush just to kind of make sure that everything is good. Now I'm gonna go and put some color on the lower lash line just to kind of blend the whole eye together. I'm gonna go in with this flat definer brush. And this is the JH43. I'm gonna go into this dark chocolate shade up here and I'm gonna stamp it all over this lower lash line. Then I'm gonna go in with this small shader brush, and this is the JH39. And with the reddish brownish color, I'm gonna go ahead and smoke that out. All right, now we're ready to take these off, and check this out, you guys. Look at that crisp line. Bam! She is snatched. Just gonna go in with a beauty blender. All right, to add a little bit of highlight, I'm gonna go in with this Juvia's Place Tribe Highlighter Volume 2, and she looks like this. And I'm gonna go ahead and just add some highlight to the brow bone here. And then, so that that highlighter doesn't look harsh, I'm gonna go back in with that clean brush and just go over that. All right, you guys, and that's it. Now I'm gonna go ahead and throw on some lashes to finish off the look. All right, guys, so I went ahead and threw on some lashes, and I really love the way that this look turned out. I hope you guys enjoyed today's video on eyeshadow blending for beginners. And if you learned anything today, then please make sure to let me know down below in the comments. I would love to hear from you. And of course, like always, if you like this video, make sure to give it a thumbs up and show your girl some love. All right, Besos, thank you so much for hanging out with me today, and I will see you guys in my next video. Mwah. Bye.